breathtaking and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are gathering in the Signict district of Mi'kma'ki, which is also known as the Drainage District. So this is the place where the powerful Bay of Fundy flows into fertile marshlands. This place has been home to Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial, and it remains so today. My name is Krista Johnston. I'm a faculty member at Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick, just 30 minutes down the road from here toward Nova Scotia. I teach in the Feminist and Gender Studies program there, as well as in the Canadian Studies program. And my research work focuses on motherhood, settler colonialism, and midwifery care at the moment. My work is grounded in anti-colonial feminist commitments to social justice and reproductive justice, with a broad focus on the politics of care. I'm also a member of the Birth Justice Research Initiative, which I co-founded with my co-moderator, Dr. Christiana McDougall, who's here today. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and take it from here.
Thank you. Grab your notes. Thank you. So I'm Christiana McDougall. I'm an associate professor in the departments of Sociology and Feminist Gender Studies at Mount Allison University. I focus on the areas of reproductive justice, mental health and mental illness, and the areas where these overlap. I'm committed to critically engaged research that can be used towards positive social change. I'm the co-founder of the Birth Justice Research Initiative along with Krista, and we investigate together as part of the BJRI issues of access to inclusive pregnancy and birth services in the province of New Brunswick. Our work contributes to research and social action for inclusive reproductive health care in the province. This involves working in alliance with movements for reproductive justice, including access to abortion, culturally appropriate care for all people in the province, gender-affirming care, and likewise. Our research and activism are informed by and based in intersectional feminist analysis and the movement for reproductive justice. This means that in our approach, gender diversity is recognized and celebrated. So that means that not all women can be or want to be pregnant. Not only women can or want to be pregnant. We resist the dominance of gender essentialism in research on birth and reproduction. Anti-racism and anti-colonialism are centered, which includes a rejection of cultural appropriation that's evident in some non-dominant reproductive healthcare spaces. We celebrate the many different forms that families can take. We believe in the usefulness of medical interventions and scientific inquiry. We highly value birthing people's informed choices while also being concerned about medicalization and gatekeeping around medical procedures. And we pay attention to how power is visible and invisible and shapes processes of informed consent.
I'm going to introduce the speakers and then we'll get underway. And I was asked to just remind everyone that this event is being live streamed on the NB Media Co-op, and there will also be a video available later. So just so you know why there are cameras here and what's happening. So it's a great pleasure to introduce the participants in today's event. This is a really exciting group of people, and Christiana and I are really looking forward to hearing more about all of the work that they're all doing. So maybe I'll introduce everyone now, and then we'll kind of move into the other events. So first we have Estephanie Brigatay, who is here. She oversees the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Campaign for Likan Center for Women's Health, which is based in Manila in the Philippines. The campaign advocates for a rights-based, holistic approach to young people's SRHR needs. And for almost a decade, Estephanie provided free sexual and reproductive health services through Likan's clinic in Bulacan as a clinician and clinic manager. Next to Estephanie is Wendy Barrera Rivas. Wendy lives and works in El Salvador. She's a youth SRHR leader and activist and coordinates the Sexual and Reproductive Rights Program for La Colectiva Feminista para el Desarrollo Local Western Region. And her academic training is in law, comprehensive sexuality education, and community rights. And Sharaban Tohura is here from Bangladesh, where she lives and works. She's an advocate for SRHR with an organization called Nijera Kori, working on programming to empower young people, especially adolescents, to make informed decisions about their sexual and reproductive health and rights. In this capacity, she collaborates actively with community leaders, organizers, and local trainers to spread vital SRHR information, create safe spaces for dialogue, and promote gender equality. And up here with us is Natalia Santos Ocasio, Latin America Program Manager at Interpares. Natalia is a human geographer from the Sharaban Valley region in Puerto Rico with a doctoral degree in geography, so that's Dr. Natalia, and planning from Queen's University. Natalia has experience in research, teaching, art curation, and international student advocacy. And at Interpares, her work focuses on issues such as sexual and reproductive rights, migration, and extractivism. So a really phenomenal group of people. Maybe we could just welcome all of the speakers.
All right, so over to Natalia. Would you want to take a minute to talk about why we're all here, the importance of the work of Interpares?
Yeah, so welcome and for having us. We're here on tour. We just got to Moncton today, but we started this tour in St. John's, Newfoundland. We've been to Halifax, and we'll continue on our way to Ottawa on a tour titled Youth Activism for Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights, a conversation on the global movement for bodily autonomy. So we're traveling to different cities to open up this conversation, talk about the incredible work that our counterparts are doing in their countries, but also to connect those conversations and struggles and strategies with the work that we're doing here in Canada. I work for Interpares, which means in Latin, amongst equals. It's an organization that's about to turn 50 next year, so we've been around for quite a bit. And Interpares really tries to challenge the traditional ways in which international cooperation is done, as well as the work that we do here in Canada, because Interpares works in different parts of the world, in West Africa, Sudan, different parts of Asia, Latin America, but also in Canada, with the understanding that we also have struggles really linked to social justice in Canada, that prosperity in Canada is often intertangled with issues in other countries, and lack of access and equality in other countries, and that we should engage Canadian public with the work we're doing so that we can have work together towards better futures. Mm-hmm. So this is part of the work. Interpares works in different kinds of issues, including food sovereignty, sexual health and reproductive rights, public health issues, anti-extractive struggles, and we see them all as interconnected. So we cannot think about struggles for water, for instance, if we don't think about comprehensive sexuality education, right? Mm-hmm. So this is some of the things that we'll hope to explore here with you.
Fantastic. And do you have a video?
And yes, and I should be introducing a video. So as part of one of the projects in which the three counterparts here today are, we created a photo exhibition under the title Daughters, Mothers, Granddaughters, and Other Sexual Outlaws. It just closed in Gallery 101 in Ottawa, and hopefully it'll be traveling to other places. But the idea was really to explore the ways in which knowledge transmission happens when it comes to sexual health and reproductive rights. Hence, the title of the exhibition. So we'll have a little sample so that people get a little bit situated on the context in which we'll be talking about today.
Yes.
here. Is this table moving or, yeah?
Yeah.
Over here, maybe.
Oh, so sorry. I put that one on top of yours. Should we turn the lights back on? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, oh. All right. Oh, that's a lovely video. And a really nice introduction to some of the work that's happening. So in that vein, I'm wondering if each of you would like to tell us about the context in which you're working, what are the social norms, and then a little bit about the work that you're doing. We can start with you.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I am Sharaban Tohura. I'm from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is situated in the South Asia. It's known for its greenery, scenic beauty, and the Royal Bengal tiger, and we do have the longest sea beach, and also one of the fastest growing economy in the South Asia. Just to give you a scale, like we are in New Brunswick. Imagine the size of New Brunswick, and think about the population of Canada, multiply it 5 times, and you put all of them in that. So we come from a country with 170 million people, and I live in Dhaka, which is the capital city. I work with Nijera Kori, it is a non-profit organization. So Bangladesh is celebrating its 53 years of independence. And Nijera Kori has been functioning with the communities for last 43 years. So when it comes to the works that we do, as a non-profit, we do have our philosophy of working with the people, not for the people. So we work with the marginalized communities, like people who are marginalized even within the marginalized community. So rural men, women, and adolescents. So our main focus area have been, like in a country like Bangladesh, of course we are fastest growing, we are increasing, of course, but with the population as well as the education rate and the life expectancy, everything is going, we are progressing, but still yet we do have some issues when it comes to social and political issues that we face with poverty, corruption, and also a deep-rooted stigma and growing religious conservatism that is ahead of us right now in Bangladesh. So Nijera Kori focuses on, for the marginalized communities, they work with the forming local landless groups, and they assert their own rights, and they work for the exploitation and discrimination that they face. So we focus on access to resources like lands, access to justice, gender equality, as well as the growing curbing the growing notions of religious fundamentalism. We also focus on that, as well as we focus on adolescents, young girls, and women for SRHR awareness and also information. And how we believe that our problems can't be solved by anyone. Like the communities that they go through the discrimination and exploitation, not a third person can do that. So we do not focus on service delivery, rather than we prioritize conscientization method that the people should be more aware, and we do provide them certain tools and equip them how to get hold accountable to the communities and how to hold accountable the state, the authority, to get access to their own rights and justice. And for that matter, I work with community leaders. I am a facilitator. I work with materials. I work with project implementation, and as well as when we talk about SRHR, so the materials and the sensitivity, that's where we have the proper dialogue and how we can get to people more talking about it in a country where it is still taboo to talk about sexual health and sexual rights. So that's in a short bit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, keep going. Go ahead.
I'm Stephanie from Philippines. Philippines is an archipelago in Southeast Asia, situated in the Western Pacific Ocean. According to the UNFPA 2023, we are the 30th most populous country in the world. We have 109 million household residents, which is comprising 50 of us. 50% of this population is women, and almost one-third of these Filipinos is adolescent, ages 10 to 19 years old. We've been invaded for numerous foreign. These invasions shaped Filipinos' cultures, beliefs, traditions that until now influence and affects the policymaker in implementation of law and policies. And I'm just gonna give you a context in our health system in the Philippines. We have a decentralization of health system, which the power of the decision and prioritization of the program are depending on the local executives. So Department of Health just make or develop policies, but they cannot enforce the local executives to make to make prioritize about this program. This setup weakens the delivery system that result into uneven health services and often overlook or no reproductive health program in most of the local government unit. Fortunately, we have a reproductive health law that is passed since 2012. Likhaan works a lot on that, but April 2013 up to November 2017, the Supreme Court and the FDA filed a temporary restricting order. So basically, since April 2013 until November 2017, we don't have a law. There's no services on contraceptives because the reason is they're questioning the contraceptive might be abortive fashion. Abortive fashion. The RH law, we have a lot of law in the Philippines regarding SRHR, but this reproductive health law serve as an overall law framework for SRHR. So it focuses on the maternal mortality, uptake of modern contraceptive use, post-abortion care, which is not really happening in the Philippines, adolescent pregnancy, and on sexual gender-based violence. The communities, we observe that there's an increasing number of teen pregnancy. But according to the National Demographic Health Survey that was done 2017 to 2022, there's a drastic drops of numbers of the total fertility rate from 2.7 to 1.9, and the adolescent birth rate from 47 to 25, which is really surpass our national target, which is 35. But there's no improvements on the contraceptive or family planning services, since the data was included during the COVID period, where the government services diverted their services into the COVID control. There's a suspicious that it's just a pandemic glitch. So I am from Likhaan Centers for Women's Health. Been a nurse since 2015 there until now. This is a non-government organization in the Philippines, founded since 1995. Since then, we've been partners to Interpares. It established by the group of feminists, political activists, and community leaders. We believe in human rights, justice, and equality, and the ability of the citizen to transform their community. We promote SRHR to the poor and marginalized communities through our 3 core programs. So we have 3 core programs. We have a community organizing and education, where the Likhaan heart is there. We we trained women and youth organization to conduct education on the sexuality, family planning, contraceptives, and we have a clinic, primary health care clinic for women. We provide contraceptive, antenatal, postnatal care, HIV screening and STI treatment, and prevention of cervical cancer. And the last is the advocacy part, where we do law and we do national, law and policy reform to national and local levels. That's all.
Wonderful, thank you. Wendy.
Pues muchas gracias a todos y todas por estar aquí hoy.
Thanks so much to everyone for being here.
Pues que les puedo contar de El Salvador, es el país más pequeño de Centroamérica.
What to say about El Salvador? It is the smallest country in Central America,
Pero lastimosamente tiene problemas muy grandes.
but unfortunately it has quite big challenges.
Es uno de los países con el mayor nivel de embarazos a nivel de Centroamérica y de Latinoamérica.
It is one of the countries with the highest pregnancy rate in adolescents in the region.
Desde hace 2 años, un poquito más, se encuentra en un estado de excepción.
And for the last 2 years, the country has been under a state of exception.
Esto significa una suspensión a las garantías constitucionales,
This means the suspension of constitutional guarantees and rights,
al derecho de la defensa, a la libertad de expresión y a la presunción de inocencia.
This provokes limits or limits the right to defense, the right of freedom of expression, and the presumption of innocence.
Y esto lo que ha generado o ha posibilitado es que hayan detenciones arbitrarias a la población salvadoreña,
And this has allowed and enabled arbitrary detentions against the Salvadorian population.
que se ha enfocado un poco más en detenciones a defensoras de derechos humanos o a personas que defienden derechos.
And they've really persecuted and focused on detaining human rights defenders and defenders generally.
Y pues tiene políticas públicas enfocadas en limitar el acceso a la educación integral en la sexualidad de adolescentes.
El Salvador has public policies that really limit comprehensive sexuality education in the school system.
Desde el 2023, hay una política de no se permite información acerca de la educación integral en la sexualidad dentro del sistema educativo.
Since 2023, there is a policy that limits or denies any information about comprehensive sexuality education within the school system.
Esto también en el sistema de salud pública se ha limitado mucho la información y el acceso a medicamentos relacionados con la salud sexual y la salud reproductiva.
And within the public healthcare system, similarly, there has been a reduction and an elimination of any information, services, or medicine related to sexual health and reproductive rights.
Y el cierre de algunas iniciativas como son clínicas especializadas para atender personas LGBTIQ+.
As well as the shutdown of initiatives, like the shutting down of LGBTQ specific clinics in the country.
Y por otro lado, tenemos un sistema judicial muy represivo en cuanto a temas de aborto o salud reproductiva.
And on top of that, we have a justice system that is very draconian when it comes to abortion and reproductive rights.
Pues el aborto es un delito en El Salvador, ¿no?
Abortion is a crime in El Salvador.
Y está bien documentado que se ha criminalizado a mujeres por sufrir emergencias obstétricas.
And it's very well documented that women who have suffered miscarriage have ended up in prison.
Que es una política de mucho riesgo porque el personal de salud está obligado a dar aviso si sospecha de algún aborto cuando se ha generado alguna emergencia obstétrica fuera del sistema de salud.
And this puts everybody at risk because, for instance, staff in the healthcare system are forced to denounce any suspicion of an abortion when a miscarriage takes place.
Y pues mi trabajo está un poco enfocado en garantizar el acceso a la educación integral de sexualidad a nivel comunitario.
And so my work is really aims to guarantee access to comprehensive sexuality education within the communities.
Buscando formas que sean accesibles, que sean lúdicas, de acercar la información a adolescentes, a jóvenes o a mujeres.
And for instance, I try to look for accessible, playful forms to bring this information to young people, to adolescents, to women.
Relacionándolo con música ancestral, arte, pintura, teatro o otras visiones que tengan más que ver con una identidad artística.
And so, for instance, we use indigenous music, we use art, painting, theater, and other ways of seeing things.
Y también un poco coordinar la relación entre los gobiernos municipales con organizaciones locales que abordan las temáticas relacionadas a la educación integral a la sexualidad.
Yeah, as well as coordinating the linkages and the relationship between local organizations and local municipalities, specifically local organizations that deal with comprehensive sexuality education.
Y pues muchas otras cosas más que conversaremos.
And many other things that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. So before we sat down officially, we were unofficially talking about politics and the political climates, right? So I'm wondering if each of you could kind of talk about the context you're working in and how the political context, the political climate helps or hinders your work, or the interventions you're able to make into the political climate. Just a little bit of the context. Yeah. And we'll start with you, Sharaban.
Okay, so like we've seen the video right now. Just so it's about last year when it was like, imagine the population of whole Ontario. So 13 million child brides under the age of 13. So last year, and it was total 38 million girls who were below 18 got married last year. So child marriage is a big issue, and it's even after pandemic, it's growing really high, alarming rate. So when we work within the communities and we try to find out what are the reasons behind it, we sometimes feel there are multiple reasons for the child brides, that why instead of being a child, go to school, play, you are put into that pressure or that that responsibility of being married and raising a family in early pregnancy, and also followed by in the case of dowries, you followed by gender-based violence. So why do we think? So we look at our context. Yes, we have had women at the top of the government for almost 25 years, well, more than 25 years, which is like pretty unusual to have a women leader. But still, we see women are treated as a second-class citizen in our country. So when it comes to women's health, women's body, we look at societal norms, patriarchal and capitalistic converge to control women's bodies and choices. And so poverty could be a reason, and also social security of girls, because there's a lot of violence going on, as well as we feel that when you are surrounded by people with like different kinds of opinions and values, it's difficult to accept what is not familiar. For example, sex before marriage, or intimacy of the adolescents, because we do have subjects like in the curriculum about the comprehensive sexual education we used to have, but unlike as it is very taboo, people don't feel comfortable about it, so it's taped between the chapters and we do not talk about it in the classroom. But NGOs like us, we do engage adolescents to talk about them, and they have got questions, and as well as the digital, we do get involved into mobiles and technologies. So there are also some misinformations, inaccurate information. So not talking about them is not going to avoid that dialogue. So what we feel is, for the context that we are in right now, recently it's been going on that we should not put anything in the curriculum that might upset religious sentiments, and it could be anything, right? Because sometimes we feel like when we talk about comprehensive sexuality education, we might promoting premarital sex, which is not, which is like the opposite. We
Right.
talk about good touch, bad touch, and consent, and how to stay or like prevent pregnancy, how to avoid pregnancy, and have safe sex, and just be aware what is harassment and what is not. But I do feel when we talk about like 68, almost 65 to 68 million youth in my country right now, and it's a big number. If you don't concentrate on them, if you don't concentrate on their health, it's going to hit back us as a whole community, as a whole country. Like Bangladesh is committed to achieve SDG 3, and also with the help of the cooperations like international cooperations, we do have the interventions are planned to support those commitments. But I do feel when it comes to this social norms based on women's access, women's choice, and also sexual and reproductive health and rights, we do focus on reproductive health and rights, like pregnancy, childbirth, abortion. Like unlike the country that we've heard today, Philippines and El Salvador, it is still not illegal to get an abortion in Bangladesh, because after 1971, is just to give a quick background, like when we have independence from Pakistan, so there were thousands and thousands of women were raped and impregnated by Pakistani militaries. So in 1971, when we got independence, so it was allowed for us to, a woman can go up to 12 weeks for an abortion, but they don't call it abortion. So there's another discourse, like how we put the words in. So it is called menstrual regulation. So that's how it's not criminalized in Bangladesh. But like I said, we do see the health professionals, the service providers, they sometimes show fear and hostility when you go to them for abortions, or if you say that I don't want it, or even sometimes the contraceptions. Like we still believe that the religious stigma and that the choice is not up to you. Like you have to ask permission from your family members if you want to get access to contraceptives. In rural areas, not just rural areas, in middle class families as well. If we go to any health like hospitals, it's not easy to talk about sexual health and reproductive health, especially if you are not married and sexually active. You don't think about going to a doctor and just get a pap smear. And then it becomes even more difficult for transgender persons in our countries, or transsexual persons to get access to those services in our country. So when we have laws and policies, yes, we do not have an SRHR policy, but it is part of the adolescent health strategy and the health populations law that we have that prevents gender-based violence and take care of motherhood and mortality rate and all those things. But we see implementation gap everywhere. Like we have law against child marriage. Like we have the legal age of marriage is 18 and 21, and yet I told you the number that's so high, because there's the special cases. There's a clause, there's a loophole in the law that if you get permission from your parents and the local counselor or local authority, you can get your children get married, even when they're 13 or 14. So this is where the context and the politics comes in, that you have to decide which is pro people. You don't keep loop areas so that people take advantage and disadvantage of the situations. And coming forward, we do not know how things are going, because we see a lot of political unrest going on in Bangladesh, and we do think that it's becoming more challenging when you talk about the sexuality part in Bangladesh.
Oh, thanks, Sharaban. Do you want to follow up on any of that?
No.
Okay. Stephanie, do you?
Yeah, fortunately we have a reproductive health law, but the law and the implementation mechanism could not overcome the challenges posed by the fragmented health system, geographical and economic inequities, and gender norm pervasive, and the constraint on the sexual and reproductive autonomy, which is there's a taboo on a SRHR that is most obvious on the in the cases of abortions,
Mhm.
where there are no local estimations, routine count on the post-abortion care that is mandated in the law or even in the IRR. But still, the Likhaan continuously engaged to the Department of Health for the focusing on the reproductive health program, to the DepEd, for Commission of Population and Development for SRHR policies, for the DepEd, for the comprehensive sexuality education. This CSE is part of the reproductive law since 2012. But only in 2018, Likhaan contributed in making the standard guidelines in 2018, and only 2024, it's starting now to implement the CSE in the only 3 regions where there's a high teen pregnancy rate. And the religious groups starting their sentiments. So what Likhaan doing right now, we have a limitations to go in school. So what we are doing is we give comprehensive sexuality education in the out of school youth through our community mobilizing, community organizing group. And we also engage in the human rights for the SRHR violation. In the clinic part, since the RH law stated there that we are not health providers, does not allow to provide services to the adolescents if they don't obtain parental consent. But this is a gray matter of the law, so there's no violations. So Likhaan clinics provide services to all the adolescents. So we advocate the other health providers to be brave to provide this to the adolescents. So yeah, and right now we have a PhilHealth. This is the health care insurance in the Philippines. But right now they return a lot of money to the government, even though we have a bad health system. So we are afraid that in the next few years, in the next few months, we don't have commodities to provide to the Filipinos. But because you can't avail services in the Philippines if you're PhilHealth accredited. If you PhilHealth member as free, but a lot of women don't have a job, so they can't pay the premium amount of PhilHealth membership, and even the adolescent they are under to their parents. So if they use the PhilHealth to claim the services, their parents might know. So they rather to have they rather go to the high risk pregnancy than
And Wendy, you've already told us quite a bit about your political context, but is there anything else you wanted to add around that?
Sí, es muy complejo porque todas estas limitaciones lo que hacen es no garantizar el cumplimiento de los derechos humanos.
It is quite complex because what these limitations end up doing is that they restrain human rights.
Sobre todo porque se suman a los problemas estructurales del país, la pobreza, la violencia sexual, la inseguridad.
Because they add on to structural problems that are already in the country, like poverty, sexual violence,
Violencia sexual, pobreza
y lack of rights.
También, debido al estado de excepción, las defensoras de derechos humanos estamos en riesgo de ser detenidas de manera arbitraria.
And on top of that, defenders, human rights defenders, are not also at risk of being arbitrarily detained.
Sí, y como también este proceso del estado de excepción ha aumentado los tiempos del proceso judicial, ¿no? Pasamos de un proceso que duraba un año o 6 meses a procesos que duran 2 años o más.
And this has also created a delay in the court system, so cases that used to take, for instance, a year, 6 months, now can take 2 and even more time to be processed within the state of exception.
Claro, y la otra cosa es la limitación a los espacios. de incidencia pública como las instituciones del Estado.
Another thing is the how limited the spaces of advocacy within the state are now.
Que evita el acceso a la garantía de los derechos de las adolescentes y la juventud salvadoreña.
And this further restrains the access to rights of adolescents and women in Salvador.
Y sobre todo el derecho a la justicia a mujeres sobrevivientes de violencia.
Especially the right to justice for women survivors of violence.
Thank you. So, Wendy, maybe I'll keep you on the hot seat, and could you walk us through kind of the kind of work you're doing, a typical day maybe? I'm sure every day is different and you're doing all kinds of things, but maybe some examples of some of the kind of typical days for you.
Sí, como explícanos un día en el trabajo tuyo, qué haces, el tipo de cosas que haces, como ejemplo, ¿no?
Okay.
De toda actividad en la que está envuelta.
Pues yo trabajo en Santa Ana, que es un departamento del país.
I work in Santa Ana, which is one of the departments in the country.
Y es muy complejo porque el acceso que se tiene a los servicios básicos es muy limitado, ¿no?
It's quite complex there because access to basic services there are very limited.
Y pues lo primero que hago es llegar a la oficina y revisar mis actividades del día.
The first thing I do is get to the office and see what I have in agenda.
Generalmente me traslado a otras partes el occidente del país.
More likely than not, I go to other parts within the western region of the country, which is where Santa Ana is.
Y pues voy a un poco contarles acerca de un trabajo muy bonito que estamos haciendo con adolescentes.
And I'm going to tell you as an example a very beautiful work that we're currently doing with adolescents.
Pues desarrollamos una estrategia para unir el tema del arte con la educación integral en sexualidad con un grupo de adolescentes de entre 13 y 19 o 20 años.
So one of our strategies has been to bring together art and comprehensive sexuality education with youth and adolescents between 13 and 19 years of age.
Entonces ese proceso consiste en llegar a hacer una presentación de nuestro estado de ánimo, nuestro estado en el momento.
So the way we do this work is we arrive and then we do a little sharing of how we're feeling, our well-being on that particular day.
Alguna dinámica de activación, bailar,
Some activation dynamic, like dancing for instance,
cantar o hacer algo divertido.
singing, or just doing something fun together.
De ahí nos enfocamos en el desarrollo de la temática,
Then we develop the topic,
ya sea prevención de violencia, prevención de embarazo, que tiene que ver más con anticonceptivos, o qué es la educación sexual o cómo funciona la educación sexual para desarrollar y cumplir un plan de vida.
these topics, for instance, can be about violence prevention, about the prevention of pregnancy, specifically tied to contraceptive, as well as comprehensive sexuality education and how it is related to people fulfilling their life plans.
Después, pues los jóvenes tienen que hacer una propuesta artística de qué dibujo plantear, después de instrucciones técnicas de cómo pintar, cómo hacer murales.
So we provide them some technical knowledge about painting, murals, and they have to come up with a proposal about how to explore the topic that we've discussed through their paintings and murals.
Y luego se lleva la propuesta a la municipalidad para los permisos para plasmarlos en la vía pública.
And so we take these proposals to the municipality so that they give us the right to put these murals into the walls of the municipality.
Claro. Y posteriormente, pues regreso a la oficina para sistematizar todo.
And then I get back to the office just to systematize all of the information.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Stephanie.
Yeah, I do clinical work, I give contraceptives and while counseling, especially to those adolescents who wants to what to use contraceptive, what are the side effects, you know. We also allotted 1 day per week, which is the Saturday for them, to encourage them to continuously return to clinic. Right now, we and my team waiting for the passage of the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Bill, which is allowing the 16 years old and above to have contraceptive, reproductive health services without parental consent, and the implementation of comprehensive sexuality education to all the schools. And this year I handled a teen pregnancy prevention campaign. We trained a group of young women leaders to have we trained them to have a negotiation, face-to-face policy dialogue for them to they can do advocacy in their local government. And sometimes we are invited to some schools, universities, to provide comprehensive sexuality education. So we also do teleconsult. It is an innovation that happened during pandemic. So through teleconsultation, we reach a lot of people, not in our communities. We reach even in the far away areas. We give consultation because consultation and contraceptive. We even, if they can't come to the clinic, we even deliver it to their And during pandemic, we do meet up for those. Thank you for the vehicle that was given by the Interpares. So we are able to meet the adolescent who doesn't want to go to the clinic. Even we encourage them or we convince them to do. We even meet them up at the parking lot or even in anywhere they like to provide them. We even do the implant insertion and counseling and shots. And before, I am part of we have a maternal clinic before in Likhaan, but we can't sustain that. So I am part of I assist the midwife before. But now, only the contraceptive standalone family planning clinic. And that's all.
Thank you. Sharaban.
Well, I will not talk like one person because I believe I represent the community of activists that I work with. So it's more than just development professionals. We believe that we are here with more passion to bring social change and social justice. So I work with the community organizers. We don't have any designations in this in my NGO. We all are organizers. We are cultural organizers, training facilitators, and we're all it's a flat organization and it's a feminist organization, which is not very usual in Bangladesh. You know, the NGOs call themselves as feminist organization. So I work with the community organizer facilitators. We work in more than 10,000 villages in Bangladesh in 14 districts. So right now we have the organizations that have group members. We have in total 0.24 million group members, and more than half of them are women. And as well as we have almost 1,500 adolescents in the groups as well. And when it comes to my day-to-day work, we do travel from one place to another to facilitate sessions, to have dialogues. Even I facilitate sessions on SRHR with adolescents, and trust me, the questions they ask sometimes also, catch me off guard. Interesting questions, and I feel like, did I ever ask this to anyone at their age? No, I did not. But then I also interact with the communities. I interact with the parents, the guardians, and the teachers as well sometimes, what are the challenges they face? Because what are the issues, because our field staff also live within the communities. They share a home together, they live with the community, and it's not just a 9 to 5 job. It's you call it, even yesterday I had a phone call from one of the adolescents, from Rangpur, and they were just like giving me some examples like what they do, because we do have, like you saw the pictures of the cycle rallies. You know, the villages where still women, it's difficult to go out for women and girls without proper, you know, attire. Like there's a certain attire that you have to go out with. For us, the girls that we work with, you know, cycling and with a slogan that's saying my body, my choice. This is something that we do not do like every day, but this is something that we highlight. Like we bring out them for practicing football, like soccer, to play kabaddi, and you know, it is little gendered when it comes to what women can do and cannot do in my communities. So we do have to, you know, have that dialogue constantly going, like let's not limit our dreams, let's not limit our mobility. So this is a constant conversation that we have to take, like with the parents, with the communities and everyone around it, because our colleagues, it's a constant battle for them, because it's not like everybody will, you know, become the mountaineers or something like that, because sometimes the personal journey, the struggle of coming out of their own home, own house's door is a battle enough. So we do see that, and I also personally work with survivors of rape, sexual harassments, and you know, to be with them, to, you know, stand with them, because it's a traumatic situation. As well as we talk to like the counselors. I do facilitate sessions. Like I said, I work with, you know, materials and facilitation and how to have these sensitive dialogues without hurting anyone, without, you know, creating more misinformation. So this is something that we back at what we do. We engage in conversations and dialogue.
As you take a quick peek at the time, and I have to pick which questions I want to ask. So, all right. Why, I'd like to hear about your pathways into the work, how you got to do this work, how your passion was developed, how you maintain your passion. So your pathway and your passion. I'll start with you, Wendy.
Pues yo creo que la oportunidad que tenemos las personas de transformar nuestro entorno es lo que apasiona.
I think that the opportunity that we have to transform the environment that we're in is something that brings a lot of passion to people.
Saber que las niñas pueden cumplir con sus metas de vida sin llevar cuesta arriba un embarazo.
To know that girls can accomplish their goals without having to carry an unwanted pregnancy.
Y pues el cumplimiento y la garantía de la libertad de las mujeres.
And the fulfillment and the guarantees of women's rights.
Y pues la energía feminista de mis compañeras.
And the feminist energy of my compañeras.
Pero ¿cómo tú llegaste al trabajo?
Yo creo que la historia individual de las personas pues inspira a buscar una vocación.
The personal and individual stories that people go through is something that oftentimes inspire you to join something like this.
Yeah. Yo vengo de una comunidad salvadoreña de un entorno de mucha pobreza.
I come from a community in El Salvador. It's an environment of a lot of poverty.
Y tener acceso a la educación integral en sexualidad pues, fue algo para mí muy valioso.
For me to have access to comprehensive sexuality education was something very valuable.
Yo recibí un proceso que estaba apoyado por Interpares con la colectiva.
I took part in a process, in some workshops through la colectiva, thanks to the work of Interpares.
Y pues me apasionó el tema.
And I became passionate with the topic.
Y investigué más, me formé más en el tema y posteriormente empecé a trabajar con la colectiva en la temática.
And I did more research, I learned more, I studied more, and became even more passionate, and then started actually working with La Colectiva.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
You know, I've been a nurse in Lican, so I witnessed a lot of struggles and discrimination that the adolescents faced, experience. There was one story I will want to share. There's a 17-year-old came to clinic claiming her rights for contraceptive. So we put her the implant, and after the few days, her mother came to us shouting and threatening us, why you put implant to my daughter without parental consent? The girl is in the side, very devastating, very upset, you know. So we just removed the implant because we can't blame the mother, because until now they don't have comprehensive sexuality education, so they don't have enough information. So after a few days, the adolescent returned, and I do provide them the shots that the mother can't felt anymore. And you know, I just realized that we need more advocates like us to ensure that every girl will reach their own full potentials, and by amplifying their demands. Because every girl denies in claiming their SRHR. Every girl will face a severe risk, like high risk for pregnancy, sexual abuse, and even mental changes. So that is the reason that pushes me to stay in this kind of career.
Thank you. Thanks. Sharaban.
It's an excellent question, wonderful question. I end up asking myself again and again.
I bet.
Because my background is different. I used to work for skills, education, trainers and stuff like that. But it's a more like a personal journey for me, because during my time, my journey from one door to another door, during the infertility clinics that I went to, I saw the struggle. I saw my the curve of my experiences, that how women are treated differently because of their abilities and disabilities sometimes, and capabilities. So it drove me, and I saw the women, the fellow patients, how they were, evaluating their worth, they're facing judgmental comments or, looks and behaviors and attitudes. So I recently worked with, it's been more than, less than 2 years with Nijera Kori. So I switched here because I wanted to talk with not only just adolescents, but the women also, that you do not put your self-worth on the bodily autonomy, and not just your, you're not there to just deliver. The reproduction is not the only thing that we are supposed to do. As well as we get to work with health professionals, the service providers, because I remember it was a traumatic experience for me to go to a doctor and talk to them. Like it was my fault, I was guilty, I felt I didn't have a self-worth, and it took me time to get back the confidence in me. So I feel the later generations, like my nieces and my nephews, they don't go through the same thing that I did. And also I expect that through these dialogues we can also exchange and extend the conversation of care and compassion when it becomes, when we talk about SRHR issues, it's so sensitive. It's because it's difficult for a country, because we girls do not feel comfortable to talk about our periods with our mothers sometimes, let alone with someone else. But it's so natural thing, and it's a necessity. It's an essential part. So just because of stigmatizing and shaming, we often don't look at it, and we struggle, and we see lot of deaths and harsh consequences. So we believe that we need to have more dialogues and tell people it's okay to talk about it, and if you do not get access, we should talk to those who can provide those accesses. Not just information, also the access to the services.
Wonderful. So I'm probably going to have time for one more question, but I wanted to just let the audience know that there will be a chance for questions. So think about some good questions that you want to ask our panel. And I'm aware that I've had the privilege of hogging all of the questions. So were there any questions that you wanted to ask?
Well, I guess my question is, we talked a little bit about the context in New Brunswick, where we've just recently had a change of government. The new government hasn't taken power yet. Aside from the tremendous relief I feel at the change of government in New Brunswick, I feel a little bit unsure that we'll sustain the movements in the province to advance sexual and reproductive health and rights. So I'm wondering if you have advice for us on kind of combating maybe a sense of like, oh, things will be great now, because there's still going to be lots of work to do. So yeah, how do you, your contexts are different than ours, but what do you have to tell us about our context, maybe?
I feel like, of course, like we've come here from, you know, traveling after 3 more places in Canada, luckily, and we got to talk to few people. So, like, I can tell you that in my country, there's still this, penal code, 1860 section 377, where we do not have, like, we don't give LGBTQI++, it's still, we can go to jail for promoting it and sometimes talking about it. But which is, I do hope, and I don't advise, I just hope that for New Brunswick it doesn't come back like that. So that is something that I like, because we're really working and pushing to do that in Bangladesh. It's just that, you know, let people live, let people just be.
Yes.
And when it comes to this women's, I heard, because access again is an issue for Canada because of such a big location wise, and it's also economical barriers are there as well. So I do hope that even not for just New Brunswick but all over like the country, because when we made business out of women's necessities. So the products that we use, we have to use the menstruation, sanitary napkins and whatever. And we pay so much money, and it's how many of us can actually afford us? I mean, looking back my communities where I work, it's very expensive and it's not easy. As well as if you want to become a mother, that again, the medical facilities, they are so expensive. And if you don't want to get pregnant, the contraceptives are also expensive. So you understand, so real necessities of women, I was just telling this to Natalia, I think last night, if men were to have periods and had to deliver babies, pads would be free, and we would have like 1 year, 2 years of paid paternal leave. So I just hope that we look at women issues in a different lens. I hope we get to have that, point of view.
Yeah, for me, it's, you know, the RH law in the Philippines almost faced 14-year-long battle before it passed. And 2013 to 2017, diba, it's really a long battle. I just want to advise that don't stop doing these things, don't stop advocacy, and don't stop demanding. So let's encourage to join us more and speak out, voice out until we heard by them, and until we get our goal.
Pues yo igual creo que estamos en resiliencia constante.
Similarly, I would say we're in constant resiliency.
Y yo creo que lo importante es tener en claro que la meta es la garantía de los derechos.
I think we just need to remind ourselves constantly that the goal is to have access to rights.
Enfocarnos en un trabajo colectivo.
To focus on collective work.
Estamos en una realidad para que el trabajo sea cada vez más colectivo y pensar mucho en el cuidado individual y en la protección colectiva.
To think a lot about self-care, but also collective safety.
Y en la medida de lo posible, el garantizar el acceso a la salud mental.
And as much as possible to ensure access to mental health care.
Que es tan importante en los contextos.
Which is so important in this kind of context.
Porque nosotras bailar al inicio de los procesos es parte fundamental, ¿no?
Because for us to dance before starting a day of workshops is fundamental to the work we're doing.
Porque es un grupo vivo que no se deja del sistema, ¿no?
Because it's a group that's alive, that is not gonna allow the system to do what it wants with it.
Y pues si nos quitan la libertad de ser felices, pues ahí sí habremos perdido.
Because if they take away our right to be happy, and then we've lost everything.
Yeah. Oh, it's really powerful. Okay, we have some time for questions from the floor. If there's anyone in the audience that has any questions they would like to ask, this is your chance.
Questions or comments?
Notes of appreciation.
people don't want to talk about it.
I know. I don't want to rush people, so we'll like sit with silence for a minute. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
my name is Sarah. I'm with Action Canada. So
Great.
first of all, thanks so much for coming here in New Brunswick. Like, it's really nice to have you and hear your stories. And it's just this is very timely, I think, because despite of having everything online, it's nice to have people like face to face. And it also aligns with the campaign that we're doing right now here to get out and talk offline, the thing like that. So it's nice to hear your stories. And also just want to share, I think a takeaway from what I've like kind of realized while you guys are talking. It's like I'm an immigrant too. I'm from the Philippines, and like here, and I think most of us are students or immigrants. Like life here is really comfortable as compared to the kind of life they used to live. And given that, sometimes we kind of forget all the struggles that we used to fight, like our struggle to have our basic healthcare need, our struggle for clean air, transportation, rights, and everything, because they're in a comfortable place. But then I kind of appreciate this kind of conversation to remind us, like, we need to safeguard the rights we're having here in Canada. Like, we need to safeguard this. Yes, we can access contraceptives now with pharmacare. Yes, we can access all of these things in the clinic. Yes, we do have great social development, but if we don't like really safeguard it, like the force, you can hear in the news, you can hear in like social media, there's a lot of backlash right now with reproductive justice, with human rights, even human rights.
Yes.
There's a lot of questions going on in that, so if we don't safeguard those rights, it's been fought for like decades and like years and years by this old like other people, we're gonna lose it, even if we live in Canada. Even if this is like a first world country, we can snap a finger. So like it's also nice to hear that there's a global like a international solidarity going on. And I feel like as Canadians, I'm not a Canadian yet, I feel like people who are in Canada are also part of that, especially immigrants, especially us, that like there's a lot of like different things that we struggle to do. And yeah, it's nice. I'm really thankful for this international solidarity that you guys are showing. So if they can do it in their countries, that like El Salvador is like very restrictive. And I know Bangladesh too, the patriarchy there is, I do have a few friends from Bangladesh and they're telling me stories of how is it hard to like advocate for your rights. When they can do it, we can also do it here. Like Canada is more like relaxed and accommodating, So yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Any responses? Yeah, I think
Thank
there's
you.
sorry, what was this?
I'm just saying thank you to her.
I think we can be a little complacent, right? That we've made progress in some areas, and certainly social media, the news, our neighbors to the south, a rising opposition forms in the Canadian government, the local context of how things have been in New Brunswick under the Conservative government. Yeah, like you can never take your foot off the gas, right? There's always going to be pressure to go into retrenchment and the removal of rights and the controlling of particular bodies in particular ways. Yeah, so thank you for that. Anything else?
Just thinking about Sarah's comment, and it makes me think also about, so you used the word solidarity and thinking about the ways that these connections are important on the Action Canada campaign, which I think is really powerful. And the ways that, including in Canada, communities are pitted against one another, right? So one of the main things that our outgoing Premier of New Brunswick tried to do unsuccessfully was to suggest that newcomers to New Brunswick didn't want sexual and reproductive health and rights, right? So to try and break any potential solidarity there. And I think he was unsuccessful, but I think that campaign and your comment remind me that like this is the work we still have to do. We need to continue to build these relationships. And it does require us to be in touch with one another, maybe more than over social media. So yeah.
And the thinking about like sexual and reproductive health and rights in this context, there's a lot of scapegoating of newcomers and immigrants around like the healthcare crisis and I think we have to be really careful that we don't let that story become the dominant story, right? That we push back on that and see the interconnectedness between sexual and reproductive health and rights and immigration and newcomers' safety and all of that.
I think yeah, so I feel like for me it was like really different in school, and like I'm from India, so how you view like, I don't know, sex before marriage or like contraceptives, you don't talk about it as much, and it's like a taboo, like menstruation is a taboo, as you were saying. And coming to Canada, I like understand for newcomers, they're still coming with that, like how they grew up in that society. There's so much unlearning to do, because you're grown up in this society, you're not supposed to talk about sex, you're not supposed to talk about periods are dirty, and then you come here and it's different, you can actually talk about it, there are more clinics. So I do understand, like even if situations like worse, way worse in back home, I do get like how for newcomers it is a challenge to really unlearn, and I feel like personally I had to do a lot of that. Raised up in India, brought up in this culture where everything is considered taboo, and then coming back here, I just want to share, and thank you so much for sharing all of this and just being together here from different parts of the world. And it's really showing that even though all these issues are in different parts of the world, it's all the same problem, right? Even about menstruation, I've worked with women in like India where I remember one of the girls were telling me she did not have access to sanitary pads, so she used her bra as her pad, and the wire tragically got stuck in her body. And it's just so, it's really sad that, and here too, there's severe poverty. We don't have access to pads. It's so expensive to get pads, and even any sort of like contraceptives, menstrual cups, tampons. So yeah, I'm so grateful to like really hear you guys and know that we're all part of this. That's like together. It's global, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's something like I appreciate about our three counterparts and some of the work we try to do at Interpares is precisely that. It's like they mentioned kind of structural issues as barriers. It's not just like the taboos around it, but it's like precisely structural issues like poverty that sometimes get on the way of people, accessing the best type of care that they can get in terms of reproductive health and rights. So that's work that they're doing, and obviously they're approaching it in different ways and through different strategies, but it's always, coming back to the fact that it's the marginalization is behind this and poverty is behind it. So yeah. Thank you for your structures.
I think that's the time we have.
I was gonna say, I think we're finished
unfortunately. So maybe if we get a big round of applause for the presenters. And Talia, we'll pass it back to you to say the last few things.
Yes. So first of all, thanks to everyone here for coming out today, this Friday evening. I am, it's been great. We were very excited to come here to New Brunswick after the results of the election, so we precisely hear it, because when I think the tour was in planning, we were like the East Coast, has all of these challenges, and we were definitely thinking about New Brunswick, and so we want to learn about how this process went, and it's been lovely talking to you, during this conversation, but prior to it too. So thanks so much for hosting this. To Jack Mead, thanks so much for helping us organize this. It's been great. To Rita, who is behind the scenes but really organizes this event with Interpares, and Doctors Krista and Christiana as well from Mount Allison, as well as our co-sponsors, Birth Justice Initiative, Canadian Health Coalition, New Brunswick Media Co-op, Action Canada for Sexual Rights, Health and Rights, Reproductive Justice New Brunswick, Global Affairs Canada, which is supporting this tour. Our amazing participants that have been it's been such a luxury getting to know them and their work, as well as their organization this last couple of weeks, and everybody here. We have some didactic material as well as some forms in case you want to learn more about our work. So that's my little pitch here. And yeah, thanks for everybody for being here.